Last week we looked at the top 10 Five Nights at Freddy's theories, things strung together from what's provided from the games with a sprinkle of imagination. Now we're looking at more solid information to bring together my top 10 Five Nights at Freddy's facts you may not know. And I'd like to play a little game. If you learned something new, leave a like, I'm curious. Number 10. Unused Content. Throughout the two games, there have been a number of unused files in the final games. For a start, the trailer to the first game depicts Barney doing a number of actions that aren't used in the final product, such as running down the hallway, similar to Foxy, or taking off his mask in front of one of the cameras. There was also going to be a lives meter, either indicating how many lives the player had left or how many times the player died. And finally, from the beta's monitor map, it looked like you were going to be able to see where the camera was and a highlighted section showing where visibility was, a similar effect to the surveillance camera from the Metal Gear Solid game series. Ultimately, these were scrapped, most likely due to keeping the aesthetic of the game quite minimalistic and giving it a more reality-based theme rather than an arcade game feel. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 saw some cut content too. Similar to the cut live system in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, there was a sprite and a title made for the second game too. Another cut sprite is a toxic bar, which looks like it was going to be used in one of the death minigames. Whether it's from one of the existing minigames or a cut one altogether is unknown. With the addition of the mask, it could have been another game mechanic revolving around the new item. A final, mysterious sprite dubbed Strange Skull was also found. It depicts part of a skull's face, but is currently unknown what it was to be used for. Number 9. Scott taunts you when the game starts. When you start the game, you are introduced to the newspaper ad that depicts the application notice for the security guard job. The outside seems to be blurred with blah 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 repeated over and over. However, a deeper look and some editing skills reveals there to be messages hidden between the repeated words. Blah blah blah, this ad has nothing to do with anything relevant to the game, blah blah blah. Chances are you won't make it past night 3, blah blah, yakety schmackety. This isn't the best choice of a summer job since you most likely won't survive the week. I recommend being a cashier, sack boy, or work in a warehouse. They are all very respectable jobs, and you probably won't be killed by them. Or you might, but it would be unlikely, blah blah. Both messages are identical in both games. Number 8. The Bite of 87. The Bite of 87 is a pinnacle moment, referenced a lot in the series, and there are a lot of theories to how these events transpired, and who the victim was. But one thing that can be confirmed is that the victim of the bite actually survived, albeit with most of his frontal lobe removed. This information is given to you by the phone guy.
But then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
Number 7. Difficulty 1987. After completion of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game, you're treated with the option to play on a custom night, where you can choose the difficulty of the 4 animatronic antagonists to play against. You can choose between a difficulty between 1 and 20. However, choosing the difficulty 1987 instantly kills you before the game starts by Golden Freddy. This is the only recorded death screen that can happen outside the actual game. It's rumoured that Scott Cawthon put this in to end rumours about the Bite of 87, where it was thought completing this difficulty held an alternate ending. Number 6. The developer was outsmarted. The original custom night set on the highest difficulty, dubbed 420 mode, was considered an impossible task. However, on the 21st of August 2014 was the first uploaded success of this game mode by Big Bugs. This was originally thought impossible by the developer. However, after this success, Scott personally commented on Big Bug's video, stating he would add another star on the title screen. This is also why the completion of 420 mode didn't hold a special ending, because Scott never thought it possible. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the addition of plushies were added to the game, where you can unlock certain ones for your desk depending on what difficulty you choose. For the completion of Five Nights at Freddy's 2's highest difficulty, 1020 mode, you are awarded with a Golden Freddy plushie. Number 5. Golden Freddy wasn't always Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy was an anomaly in the first game, and sparked a lot of fan interests on its identity. However, the name Golden Freddy was a fan-dubbed name for a while since it wasn't explicitly mentioned in the game. The game file for the bear had him labelled as Yellow Bear, and during Five Nights at Freddy's 2 he's referred to as the Yellow Suit, when one was stolen for what is thought to be the missing children incident. The reason this is assumed to be a yellow Freddy and not a normal coloured Chica is because, although Chica is naturally yellow, it was noted that it was someone in a Freddy costume who lured the children away. However, despite all this, Golden Freddy is officially labelled Golden Freddy in the custom night, where you can choose his difficulty. Number 4. Confusion about Mangal's gender. Mangal is an odd animatronic, as it's a mess of parts. The toy versions of all the animatronics are in full working order, except Mangal, who's assumed to be Fox's toy counterpart. The confusion of the gender comes from when you unlock the custom nights. You can choose between a number of preset difficulties, one of which is Ladies' Night, which features Mangal. However, the phone guy refers to Mangal as a him.
I think the employees refer to him as just the Mangal.
Number 3. Summer or Winter. Upon completion of the 6th day of Five Nights at Freddy's 2, you are treated with a paycheck stating the date as November 12th, 1987. However, the game starts with the phrase, "Welcome to your summer job." This has caused people to see this as an oversight to reference the release date of the second game matching the paycheck. Another thing people have tried to tie together is that, in the Southern Hemisphere, summer starts in December, making those two notions of a summer job and it being late in the year connect. There are also countries in the Southern Hemisphere that use dollars. However, trying to string this together as a solid theory has proven difficult. I've looked into this through various sources, and no one seems to address one possible factor. Not all jobs pay you as soon as your week is done. For one reason or another, there are always reasons why a paycheck could have been given at a later date, at which the check has to be dated with the date it was written out, at the time, the 12th of November, and not the time of a week of work's completion. Number 2. Night 5's Call. The calls in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 are pre-recorded by the phone guy on his last week of working. Sadly though, it seems he doesn't make it past night 4, and on night 5 the call is received. However, it is not what you expect. At first glance, it appears to be inaudible gibberish. But when reversed, it appears to be an excerpt from the book Autobiography of a Yogi.
Agricultural development is speeded by fuller use of your marvelous mechanism. Would it not be easily possible to employ some of them in quick laboratory experiments to indicate the influence of various hyperlines on time? Bro, you are right. Countless use will be made by few generate all of know contemporaneous the joy of creating.
Number 1. Five Nights at Freddy's Hallucinations. In Five Nights at Freddy's 1, there's a number of hallucinations that occur on the later nights. In Five Nights at Freddy's 1, you are sometimes visited by a haunting bunny with no eyes. There are also a number of visual oddities that come up, and the entire scene with Golden Freddy is speculated to be a series of hallucinations, albeit quite deadly. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, there are a number more added in, such as Shadow Freddy and Shadow Bonnie. These are dark figures with white, beady eyes that appear, Freddy being in the parts and services room, and Bonnie appearing near you at the office. If stared at too long, Shadow Bonnie will phase away and cause the game to crash. Golden Freddy makes a return, more terrifying than ever. His behaviour is erratic and functions as both a hallucination and as an animatronic. There's also a bare endoskeleton that can be seen as early as day 1. It appears in the prize corner and sometimes the left vent. It is unknown if this is actually a hallucination, but its strange yet docile behaviour leads people to think it is. There's a variant of the Balloon Boy dubbed Balloon Girl, when, occasionally, the player may encounter Balloon Boy under the desk in the office. The hallucination does not appear to harm the player, and seems to simply disappear if they check the monitor. The reason for its nickname is because, although this model appears similar to Balloon Boy, it has magenta cheeks and eyes, with a purple nose and eyelids, and the red stripes on his propeller beanie are now bluish-purple. Also, on rare occasions, you are sometimes treated to hallucinations of eyeless animatronics. This appears much similar to the eyeless Bonnie that would happen in the first game. And finally, if the puppet leaves its place of resting, it may appear on the feed for very short intervals at random times. It appears in the main hall and party room 2 cameras, usually flashing its face for short intervals, or sometimes even standing up. So there you have it, some interesting things you may or may not know about Five Nights at Freddy's. If you learned something new, leave a like. It's a fun way for me to test how well I did my research. If you enjoy top 10s of varying topics, subscribe. I try to get these out every week, although I'll be in America at the time of this video's release, so there may be a small hiatus. And if you missed last week's top 10, click here for my top 10 Five Nights at Freddy's theories. It's interesting seeing what the community have put together from the facts provided, and I added my own little inputs here and there when I see a correlation.